So welcome to module 4. And just to review a little bit, anybody want to share, have you had like an aha moment and like, something happened and say, that's what we were talking about in the workshop? Any experiences that you want to share with the group? No application taking place?
Oh, we're supposed to use this? Oh, sorry.
Anything? Any aha, that's what we were talking about.
I mean, as last week was service, right? And
yeah, we talk about service.
We talked about asking if we're doing enough or what we
can do
more. So I did a little bit of that last
Good
week.
deal, man. These are the little things that are going to separate you from your competition.
I've only had good responses so far, so I'm waiting for the negative ones. But
and encourage them. Encourage them. Tell me what I need to do. You want to come across as being sincere. And I really want to do better. Because you know what happens when we settle for good enough? You know what happens? They say good enough is the enemy of best and excellent. What about pride? Anything about pride? Module 1. Did you do anything that you were so proud of that you can share with us? We are your friends. Did you have to adjust your attitude a little bit to any situation or a person or a customer, a client?
It's been a very, very quiet week, so.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of, some times that I had to apply in the last week, but I did spend more quality time. I scheduled because a lot of shops in my area a lot of customers in my area still aren't seeing salespeople. And so I actually set up like at least 3 lunches last week. And so I think from last week's session about just having better conversations and getting to know your customers, able to apply that. And something I did that I'm proud of, well, I wouldn't say I'm really proud of it. It took me a really, really long time to finally do this. I probably for the last year have been meaning to set up a YouTube account for myself. Just to share my experience within my industry. And I've always kind of thought it would be fun to talk about my sales experience in the industry because I really just fell into sales. And over the last 4 years, I keep notes in my phone or just random thoughts that I think of having to do with being of service to customers or interactions or do's and don'ts that I've experienced. So I plan to use my YouTube for some of that too. And so
good for you.
We finally did that today. So I'm excited to be able to connect, hopefully, essentially connect with more potential customers that way. But yeah, that's my report for the week.
When the more we expose ourselves to our people, they don't forget us. And that's the value of exposure. They don't forget you. When they need you, you want them to remember you. So you need to expose them. And Sarah, you said something that I think is worldwide. I've never met somebody who in career day in high school, when they ask you, what do you want to do when you grow up? Say, I want to be in sales, or I want to be a salesperson. We all seem to have fallen into sales. Somebody who was in sales look at us and say, you'll do well in this. And then you decide to try it. Or like some of us, our parents were in sales. and we're just following their footsteps, right, Megan? Yeah, and so part of my mission, personal mission, is to help more people to see sales as a profession and not something you just do to make money or to make a living, but as a profession. It is so important. That's why, you take pride in what you do, you adopt a positive attitude to what you do. Salespeople, they make people feel so special. When they have that new shiny car that they sold, or that new object, or that new tool, or whatever, and it's working, you make them feel so important and special. And then service. Remember last week we said sales and service go together. The successful salespeople who have a long, lucrative career, they have a heart for service. And they serve. And I can tell you so many stories of where you go the extra mile, and it always come back to bless you when you serve your clients. So today, we want to talk about initiative. And let me share my screen. And yeah, so taking initiative. Now, when you hear the word initiative, what comes to your mind? And anybody can chime in. What's initiative mean to you?
Taking action on something.
Taking action, yes. Anybody else?
Not procrastinating.
What's that, Eric?
Nope, not procrastinating.
Yeah, do it now. You remember I shared with you the WIN formula, W-I-N. Anybody remember what W-I-N stands for?
What's important now?
Oh man, you made my day. The guys in the noon class could not remember. I had to remind them. What's important now? And especially in sales, we live in a now world. We live in a now world. What's important now? Any other thoughts about initiative?
Taking action.
Taking action, yeah. Now, and the thing about initiative is doing what you know is the right thing to do without being told. You don't have, people who take initiative, they don't have to be told. You need to do, they see something that needs to be done. It does not even have to be their role. They do it. It doesn't, the worst statement anybody can make in any organization, in any family, in any church or whatever is, that's not my job. Successful people who have a passion for what they do, they don't have to be told, it doesn't have to be their job, they take initiative. They're starter-uppers. They don't need somebody to be pushing them. In fact, they're the ones who are leading up front. So they make a habit to start doing things quickly. There's a Chinese proverb that says, the person who is waiting until everything is perfect before doing anything is still waiting. And I'm sure you know people like that, who they want to make sure they dot every I, cross every T before they step out. Somebody also said, if you want to walk on water, you got to step out of the boat. So make it a habit to start doing things quickly. It's never going to be perfect. And you can fix things as you go along. And another quote I like to share with you is, the man who thinks it can't be done should not interrupt the man who is doing it, or the person who thinks it can't be done should not interrupt the person who is doing it. So make a habit to start doing things quickly, because you've heard the statement, time is money. Time is our life. Once a second is gone, it's gone. We're not going to get it back. Be the first to get going. Be the first to get going. Look for opportunities to make things better. Remember, when we talk about attitude, we find what we look for. Never settle for okay. Taking initiative. Always looking for, how can I make, too many people in sales, they're waiting for management, they're waiting for the leadership. When you are in the game, you're out there in the field, then your manager has seen what you're doing out there. You are there. You're making eye contact with the customer. So look for opportunities to make things better. Don't be so set in your ways that you are not open to new ideas. And you know these people, when you offer a new idea, the first thing comes out of their mouth, but that's not how we do it. We've never done that before.
Or that's not how so-and-so told me how to.
Yeah, yeah. So
Or my so-and-so told me to do it that way.
That way, right. And but we all know if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got.
Yeah, what you always done.
Yeah. So try to be more open-minded and always look for, we're living in a changing world. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Every day.
Yeah, every day. Look at in our lifetime, how many things have changed. We on Zoom, we have Sarah is in California, Diana and Larry Wayne and John and Donna, they're in Texas. Eric, you're in California too?
Colorado.
And I'm in Georgia. And Megan is in lovely Fort Lauderdale. And we all getting together. 5 years ago, this was not even thought about. 5 years ago. And
No, it would have been like a conference call. We never would have seen each other.
Yeah. Amazing. So, take initiative. Think about new ideas and offer them to co-workers and upper management. There's always a better way. But if you're not thinking that way, you're not going to find it. But if you keep thinking, there's a better way to do this. There's a more efficient way to do this. The ideas will come, I promise you. And then people who take initiative, they try to solve problems first before going to others for help. Think about that for a minute. If every time you have an issue, a problem, a challenge, you go to somebody else and they do it for you, are you learning anything?
No.
No.
Just learn to be spoiled.
Yeah, and you learn to be dependent, right? And I like that, Larry. We learn to be spoiled. So, in fact, one of my habits when my kids come to me with any problem, the first thing I ask them, what have you tried? What have you thought about trying? Go back, think about this, try what you want to try, and then come back and let's see what happens. Because when there are certain things definitely like I am not going to attempt to do. Like anything that has to do with electricity, I'm not going to try to fix that. I'm going to call an expert in because that's high risk. But most other things, I'm going to try first. Even look at the computer. There is a help icon there, and most people, they wouldn't use it. And now with YouTube, Sarah, there's the amount of things you can learn to do on YouTube. And they're giving you step by step. I can't tell you how much stuff I have learned to do around the house. I have my iPhone in my hand and I'm looking at the video and I'm doing what the guy tells me to do. And it works. Like a simple thing like changing a bulb in my car. I have a German car, a VW Jetta. I don't know why they make it so hard to change a light bulb. But YouTube show me how, save me a lot of money and time too. So try to solve problems first before going to others for help. Try first. And then speak. What's that? Somebody saying something?
No, I was just laughing because Mom does the same thing with YouTube.
Good. Your mom is a very smart woman, Larry.
That's true.
I can vouch for that. Seek out visitors and greet them in your neighborhood. It's amazing how people can be living in a condo and they don't know their neighbor. They don't greet one another. You know, like if you're living in a neighborhood, single family dwelling, you don't know the name of the people to your right and to your left. That bothers me a lot. You know, whenever I see a moving truck coming in, I like to go and welcome the people and let them know I'm here if you have any questions, you know, get to know their names, introduce myself. We're neighbors. And that's one of the benefits of the COVID-19. I'm seeing more neighbors interacting. What about you guys and girls?
Yeah, that's not knowing. I guess the way I grew up was you always know your neighbors, you know?
Right.
'Cause we've always lived in pretty much the same neighborhood, and you know your neighbors, but there are a lot of people that don't know their neighbors. Even people that live in apartments don't know
Yeah.
their neighbors. And that's,
I
to me,
tell
that's
you.
just weird. I can't imagine that.
Well, it happens. I mean,
It does all the time, every day.
think about you're on a plane. This person is sitting right next to you. You can actually literally touch them. And they put on their headphones and they don't even say hello or good morning or whatever.
Oh yeah, for 5-6 hour flights.
Yeah,
Don't
amazing. That we are losing the human moment. But people who have a passion for what they do, they take initiative. They take initiative and they would reach out and they would greet. I can't tell you how many people I've met on an airplane who became my client. And that was not my intention, but that's what the result. Reach out, take initiative. I mean, why do you carry a business card? Get to introduce yourself to people, take initiative. Any other thoughts about initiative? Anybody have a good initiative story? Either you saw somebody take an initiative or you took initiative and what the results were. Anybody? Nope. I have a really cool story to share with you. About last week, I can't remember what day it was, but you know, schools in Georgia, they would have online classes. So my wife thought that we need to get a nice desk for my grandson. So they sent me to Target to get this desk. And I got the desk and I go in line and oh my God, the line was so long. But I already got the desk, I'm already there. So I'm in line, there is, and I don't mean this in any racial term, but it shows the power of the initiative. There's this white lady in front of me and she has her two daughters, obviously, and they got a couple of items in their hands. And then in front of them was a black lady. She had too many items in her hand. She had a box on the floor with items and she was like pushing it with her foot in the line. Well, the white lady was directly in front of me. She looked to the right, to the left. She saw an empty cart, and I'm hearing. I like to observe people. I'm hearing her. She said to the black, "Oh, there is an empty cart. Would you like me to get it for you?" Did she have to do that? No, but she saw an opportunity to serve, and she took the initiative. She went and in fact, she gave her stuff to her daughter to hold. And I'm thinking, what an example to her daughters. What an example. And you know, children learn what they live. She got the cart. She helped the lady load all her stuff in the cart. And people, I was applauding. I was applauding. I like to recognize people when they do good. So look for opportunities to take initiative. It does not have to be your job. This is our world. Let's take initiative. Any other thoughts before we move on?
I would just say that I completely agree with you. And anytime I witness something like that, it always makes me feel really good. And it's like encouragement to do it on your own too. Because
Yeah.
I find myself, some days I'm really bold about that stuff. And then other days, for some reason, I'm just shy about it. And then it'll almost like, it's like a lingering thought when I leave and I'm like, oh, I should have done this, or, you know, helped that person with that. So I really like that too.
Well, yeah, you know, and John and I were talking about, you know, growth is a continuous process. We're learning every day, we learn, and we're growing, and we're growing. We're not perfect. We're not perfect, but we're getting there. So keep swinging. Okay, remember Wayne Gretzky said, you only miss 100% of the shots you do not take. You only miss 100% of the shots you do not take. So keep, especially in sales, we got to keep swinging. So seek out opportunities to serve. We remember when we talk about attitude, we find what we look for. You know, if you have a heart for service, you will seek out opportunities to serve, and you find what you look for. And then respond to the Holy Spirit. Have you ever had an experience where you had no clue what was going on, and then you realized and you said, oh my God, that had to be Jesus, or that had to be the Lord? Like for example, you're late for an appointment and you just get green lights all the way. Have that ever happened to you?
No.
Not yet, not yet. But you know, things happen that led by the Holy Spirit. You see something to do. The devil would not tell you to do good. The Lord will tell you to do good.
I had that happen with the last job that I got.
Uh-huh.
And I knew it was really funny because I was still, you know, working for myself, and I decided I want to go back to work for corporate. So I applied for this job. It just happened to open up where I work at PaySafe. And so I applied. They called me the very next day, and I went in for an interview. They said, well, can you come in tomorrow for an interview? And I said, sure. I knew when I walked in that room, the minute I walked out, I knew I had the job.
Yeah.
It was like, and I was afraid. It's just, I was like I knew, you know when it's a God thing. And I was afraid not to take the job because I thought if I don't take the job, that's not going to happen again.
Right.
And I absolutely love my job. But yes, that's absolutely.
In fact, I have a similar story. When I joined Auto Trader, I applied for a district sales manager job. They never even answered they did not even acknowledge my application. And then I forgot about that. And then out of the blue, I get this phone call from one of their recruiters. And she said, are you still looking? I said, yeah, I'm always open. She said, well, we look at your resume again, and we have a position that matches your resume. I said, well, tell me more about it. And she said, well, the role is a management development trainer, and we think you're a perfect match to the role, and we'd like for you to interview with the manager. And John, remember Jane Kelly? John? Alan?
Yes.
Yeah, Jane Kelly was the director. So she wanted to do a telephone interview, and I don't like telephone interviews. So I was praying, Lord, help me to deal with this. 2 minutes into the interview, Jane says to me, Lincoln, I'm not very comfortable with interviewing you on the phone. Do you mind coming in person? I mean, look at that. Cut a long story short, while I was in her office, interviewing with her, the phone, she called the VP, who was, what's his name again? Bob Landers was her VP. And she said, hey, Bob, I have a candidate here for the role. I'd like for you to interview him. We like him, but we need for you to, approve it. And he said, and I'm there, I'm listening to the conversation. He said, well, if you like him, I'd just hire him. And that was it. That had to be the Holy Spirit. I enjoyed most every day of my time there at Auto Trader. That was my last corporate gig, and I was doing what I have a passion for. Training all the salespeople and training the sales managers, and I even got to go speak to auto dealers. It was so much fun, so much fun. But that had to be a God thing. Any other thoughts? Initiative? Okay. So take an initiative. Somebody read it. Somebody read that for me.
Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them.
Yeah. You know, we all know what we need to do. We all know what's the right thing to do, but we will be blessed if you do them. And somebody else read that for me.
But the one who looks into the perfect law, the law of liberty, and perseveres, being no hearer who forgets, but a doer that acts, he will be blessed in his doing.
And you notice I highlighted do. I highlighted doer who acts and doing. You know, especially in say, we're going to be action oriented. We are the initiators of the action. We are the starter of the process. Things don't, people, if you're waiting for somebody to call you, you'll be waiting a long time. We need to be the initiators. Take initiative. Somebody read that for me.
I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
This is one of my favorite verse. You know, we have this access to this almighty power, and it's free, people. You don't have to pay for it, but we tend to ignore it. We need to get plugged in and use this power. It's free, and you're just waiting for us to connect. And somebody read that for me.
In every work that he undertook in the service of the house of God and in accordance with the law and the commandments, seeking his God, he did with all of his heart and prospered.
Yeah, with all his heart and prospered. All his heart. Put your heart in it. Remember, the emotional intelligence gurus will tell you 80% of how we perform, how we behave, is impacted by how we feel, our emotions, and it's the heart that generates the feelings. So I hasten and do not delay keeping your commandments. Delay keeping your commandments. Hasten, do not delay, take the initiative. So that was the initiative. And now I want to share with you some thoughts about integrity. What's integrity to you? What's integrity? Anybody?
I'd say,
Go ahead.
oh, sorry, honesty and dependability.
Honesty, dependability. Okay, anybody else? Give me a word.
To me, it means being your word.
Your word, keeping your word. Yeah. Anybody else? Integrity. What's integrity to you?
Doing the right thing when nobody's looking.
Doing the right, you saw my notes, right? Doing the right thing when nobody is looking. Integrity.
Yeah.
You know, I've never met a human being who said to me, Lincoln, I don't have any integrity. I've met a lot of people who claim to have integrity, but they need to go back and look at what the definition of integrity is all about. Hey, Megan, you want to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say, doing what you say you're going to do.
Amen. Doing what you say you're going to do. You know, there's so much good stories about, you know, big $1 million transactions being closed on the word and a handshake. Hardly happens anymore. But, you know, that's used to be common. So, integrity. Yeah. How valuable is your word? How valuable, how true is your word? When you say you're going to do something, do you do it? What's the level of the quality of work you do? You know, I'm a firm believer if you do quality work, the quantity will come. Would you agree with that? Hello?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you do quality work, the quantity will come. Unfortunately, in sales, most time we get so focused on the numbers. The numbers will come. Do quality service and the numbers will come. How consistent are you? That's the other thing. You can't be full of integrity on Sunday and then you're drunk on Saturday night, you know, and you using foul language on Monday, kind of deal. Integrity has to be consistent. Would you agree with that?
Yep.
Then we were talking about this earlier. Do you do what you say you're going to do? You know, I've seen a lot of salespeople make promises just to get the sale, and then they don't deliver. You know, they overpromise, under-deliver, or they tell, you know, I learned a long time ago, there's no white lie. A lie is a lie. A lie is a lie. There's no white lie. You either tell the truth or you don't. And then how do you perform, to Larry Wayne's point, when no one is looking? How do you perform? Now you know that you're a person of integrity. But you know what? Somebody is looking. Somebody sees all and knows all. You know who I'm talking about?
Yep.
Jesus, our Father, our Lord, our CEO. He sees all. He knows all. I mean, we can't hide from him. And if we are here committed to serve him, to glorify him, we do it with integrity. And, you know, Sarah was sharing with us truth, fair, honest. Truth. Treat people fairly and be honest about it. You know, sometimes in sale, we have to say no. We have to say, no, I can't do that. Rather than say, yeah, I can do that, and then you don't deliver. And then you get a cancellation. So say the truth, be fair, be honest. Okay, everybody, repeat after me. Say, do, co.
Say, do, co.
One more time. Say, do, co.
Say, do, co.
And I learned this from a guy, Alan Feinstein. Say what you're going to do what you said you were going to do, and communicate when you can. Because sometimes we have good intentions. You know, Lincoln, I'm going to be in a class at noontime, but something comes up and you can't make it. But if you just have me looking out for you and you don't show up, but you communicate, it makes it so much easier. You have an appointment with a client and something comes up, and you just leave the person waiting for you without communicating. Now, what's that all about? Say the course. Say what you're going to do. If you remember this and you practice this, you will be known as a person of integrity. And that comes from Alan Fine in his book, You Already Know How to Be Great. Check it out. It's a good book. So, some Bible references. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everybody. You can't be selective with integrity. You have to do what is right in the eyes of everybody. You know, the integrity of the upright guides them, but the unfaithful are destroyed by their duplicity. You've heard of the people who speak in two tongues? You know, they say one thing means something else. And then they might be saying something, but their eyes are not complimenting what they say, or their facial expression, and you know they're lying. So be careful about that, because 70% of communication is nonverbal. A good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold. And again, in sales, after a time, people don't care about the name of your company. They will tell you, I do business with Alan. I do business with Diana. I do business with Larry Wayne. I do business with Eric. I do business with Sarah. I do business with Megan. It's you, your name. And now they're going to refer you. They don't care about a company. After a time, you've established that integrity and they believe in you and they trust you. That's when you know you're getting there. Simply let your yes be yes and your no, no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one. And I don't think anybody in this meeting here wants to glorify the evil one. Anybody? Anybody? Okay. Silence means no. Okay, I get it. Any thoughts about integrity before we go on to ownership?
I have one thought that I wanted to share in the beginning.
Okay.
I'm wondering, I'm not in sales again. I work for a cardiologist, but when I started working for them at the beginning of the year, it was a company, an office that had a lot of turnover and stuff. And I was just thankful to have the job because I had just recently lost my job in December. And so when I was asking God to put me in the right place, I made another commitment. I always tithe, but I've missed tithing. Like I missed one paycheck, or next, it's been 2 paychecks.
Yeah.
When I started this job, I told God, give me the right job and I will not miss my tithe.
Amen. Amen.
But I didn't realize that also made me a better employee, a better, that I gave 100% of myself. Because why give this to God if the way you're earning it is not right? So Alan always says to me, what time are you going to get home? And I was like, oh, I'll be home early. He goes, no, you're not. You're not going to be home early. But I have to do my job, that's what I have to do. But I think the reason why I've become a better employee and a better, giving 100% of myself and doing the right things, because why am I going to tithe if the money that I've earned is not, that I don't deserve it? So it's like almost like giving God 10% of something that you should have only maybe gotten 90% because you didn't give 100% of yourself.
Amen. And that's one of the few things he says, test me in this. One of the few things he wants us to test him. It's amazing. So thank you, Donna, for sharing. Anybody else before we go to ownership? Integrity or initiative?
Yeah, I got something on integrity.
All right, Larry.
It's kind of like the best way, like what I said earlier about, doing the right thing when nobody else is looking. It's kind of like, running the red light when nobody else is around. Like, or, that's, making sure you stop, stuff like that. Or say you're down and out, you're late on rent, they're fixing to come take the car and whatnot, and you find a bag full of $100 bills in the park.
Yeah.
If you take it in, it's because you have integrity. That's not yours,
Right.
And that's how my mom always explained that to me when I was growing up. It's like, if you're at school, you find a pencil on the ground. Well, man, I really forgot my pencil at home. I really sure could use that pencil, but it's not my pencil,
right.
That kind of stuff.
Somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah. That always brings that to mind every time I hear that.
Yep. So, and it's what you stand for. What's your legacy? What are you known for? And we all have consciences. You can look in the mirror and say, I did my best. I did the right thing. So that was initiative and integrity. Let's review a little bit. What confirmation did you get that you are doing the right thing? Anybody? I heard a lot of you sharing in like keeping your word. Anybody would like to share? What confirmation did you get that you are doing the right thing?
You mean in business or?
And in life.
I think with work, it's kind of word of mouth. Sometimes you hear about positive reviews, like somebody will tell you a mutual friend said this or that about you, or complimented your dependability or maybe even integrity.
Yeah.
So that's always nice.
Of course.
Confirmation. Nice
Yeah.
confirmation.
How about, what is one thing you need to stop doing now because of what we've shared today? Is there anything you need to stop doing now?
I think one thing I need to stop doing now is I stand in my own way.
Yes, I can see that, Diana. Yep. Stand in your own way. And then, what is one thing you need to start doing now? Based on what we've shared today, what is one thing you need to start doing now? Hey, Eric, we haven't heard from you in a little while.
I'm not sure. I've been thinking about it. I just.
Okay. Anybody? Did anything pop in your head that you know I need to start doing that? Anybody? Okay. Well, I hope you when you're reviewing your notes, and oh, by the way, I hope you're using the handouts and the notes. We don't refer to it a lot because it's basically, you know, just the main points for your benefit and for your review. All right, let's go on to ownership, step 6. Take ownership of your duties and responsibilities. It's yours. You know, this is my job, my business, my family, my customer, client, my task or project, my community, my world, my time, my church, etc. We need to learn to take more ownership. If more people in the world will take ownership, we will have a more productive, more peaceful world. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
My company, you know, accept praise for achievements and responsibility for mistakes. And we're all going to make mistakes, and we're going to learn to own our mistakes and learn from our mistakes. Please don't try to make the same mistake over and over again. That's stupid. Learn from your mistakes. Take ownership. You know, how many of you worked on a jigsaw puzzle?
I have.
Anybody?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe I should ask, anybody never work on a jigsaw puzzle? Because we all seem to have done it in, you know, when we were kids. What's the largest number of pieces you've worked on?
8.
6.
Anybody else work on a jigsaw puzzle that has more than 6 pieces? How much?
Granddaughter's puzzles.
How much? More than 6 pieces. Anybody?
Yeah, I think I've done one more than 6 pieces.
How much, Megan?
I don't know.
1,000?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah,
500.
okay, let's say Megan is working on a 1,000-piece puzzle, and she gets to 999 pieces, and 1 piece is missing. How are you feeling now?
Terrible.
Terrible, yeah. Frustrated. Where is it? I know you start looking for this 1 piece. You start challenging your friends and your family. Who moved my piece of puzzle? Come on, people. You know. But then you find it. You find that 1 piece, and let's say you put it in there in the space, but you only put half of it in there. Is the puzzle complete? Is the puzzle complete?
Say that again. Let's say
And
again.
so you find the piece, but you only put half of it. in the space.
No, it's not complete.
It's not. You got to put all of it. So in this world, people, we got to put all of us in every little thing that we do in that moment. Whatever you're doing now, give all of yourself. Take ownership. Make sense?
Yeah.
And I'd like to encourage you to go to the dollar store and buy a puzzle and get one piece and carry it with you wherever you go as a constant reminder. I belong in this world. I need to give my all. When I do this workshop live, I would give out puzzle pieces to the people to carry as a reminder. This is me. I belong. I need to give all of me. Too many people are not giving all of them in their relationships, in their work, you know, in the neighborhood, wherever they are. They're just settling for okay or good enough. We who have a passion for what we do, we give all of us all the time. So here's some Bible references about taking ownership. Would somebody read that for me?
The earth is the Lord's and everything in it, the world and all who live in it.
It's his, but guess what? He's placed it in our hands. He's placed it in our hands. All those cats that Larry Wayne is taking care of, he's taking ownership of taking care of those cats. You know, somebody read that for me?
The silver is mine and the gold is mine, declares the Lord Almighty.
It's his, and again, he has given it to us. He has put it in our hands to take care of it, to take ownership of it. Romans 11:36 says, all things come from God, through God, and return to God. Praise him forever. Yes, it is so. All things, praise him. But he's given it to us. He trusts us that much that he's given it to us. You know, God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves. And we have the power to rule. We were given that power to own it. You know, I've never seen a fish fishing for a human being. You know, we go fishing. Fish that exists in the water. We go hunting. You know? So take ownership. So, any thoughts about ownership?
I just really like that mentality. I've always noticed, like in each job that I've had, that I just do a lot better on the weeks or months or, I mean, ideally years. Like I always want to have that mentality, but when I take ownership of it, I notice that I do have more integrity in everything, because if you have your own business, it's like everything reflects off of you. And the kind of mentality I want to have is that it reflects off of me, because especially in sales, and then if you have for me, I have a territory that I take care of, so it almost is like running your own business. Like what you do with it, if you want more business, you find a way of doing more advertising. Like you mentioned earlier, you can't always wait for management or, you know, them to make the big move. Sometimes you just got to get creative and do the little things that might seem insignificant at first because it's on a smaller scale, but it starts to grow, and then you kind of have pride in what you've built. You asked earlier, I didn't have an answer then, but something that we've done that we're proud of, that we took initiative on. When I first got into the industry that I'm in, I had started a social media for the last company I was at. And I remember at the time my bosses thought it was silly, and they kind of laughed it off and said, well, if you want to do that, like, sure, we don't mind if you want to waste time on that. I did it, and my mentality was like, well, you know, if I help 5 people like to understand the product, that's fine, and it'll be fun and I'll learn more. But it actually started growing a lot, and now I've made so many like connections and friendships in the industry just from doing that. But it went to like a lot of numbers of followers. And so it was something that I was kind of proud of, that, you know, kind of didn't have to do it. And then nobody was asking or even wanting me to do it, but kind of took ownership over it, and it turned into something really fun.
I remember we shared earlier that fire yourself as a sales executive or salesperson, whatever your title is, and rehire yourself as a trusted business partner. We are all in business together.
Yeah.
We are all in business together. And when you take ownership, yours, it's amazing what happens. Your whole perspective changes. Your whole perspective. You know, your boss might say, okay, this is your quota for the month. They go, own it. Own it. And it's amazing what happens. Your whole perspective changes. So let's review. And you know what is going to happen. What confirmation did you get that you're doing the right thing in terms of taking ownership? Well, Sarah just shared. Anybody else want to share? Taking ownership? Hello? Is everybody still there?
Yes, thinking.
Yeah, Alan.
I think
A lot of work to get a 6-piece jigsaw puzzle together, okay?
All right, Alan. Oh. Then
at the start of this, you know, I started this job thanks to Sarah reaching out to me and letting me know that it was available. But I started in February. I made 2 sales trips, and then COVID hit. I really didn't have any time to, and technically we're supposed to be on the road, you know, 50% of the month.
Right.
So I'd say I took some initiative to start reaching out and started Zoom trainings, and we were able to condense it down and do a quick 30-minute training with our engineering manager. And feedback was positive because, you know, obviously everybody started doing these Zoom meetings and trainings, and a lot of them were very scripted and monotonous, but we kind of set it up where we passed it back and forth, and he was at a table and actually had the tools, and the feedback was short, sweet, and informative. And you know, I can see some of the numbers from an account that we did, you know, small amounts with all year. We've already, you know, tripled that number with them, and they continue to reach out. So
good for you.
Paid off.
Yeah. And then what is one thing with respect to ownership you need to stop doing now?
Is that for me?
You know, I want to read this poem for you. And the poem, the title of the poem is Someone Else. And it goes like this. Our church was saddened to learn this week of the death of one of our most valued members, someone else. Someone's passing creates a vacancy that will be difficult to fill. Else has been with us for many years, and for every one of those years, someone did far more than a normal person's share of the work. Whenever there was a job to do, a class to teach, or a meeting to attend, one name was on everyone's list. Let someone else do it. Whenever leadership was mentioned, this wonderful person was looked to for inspiration as well as results. Someone else can work with that group. It was common knowledge that someone else was among the most liberal givers in our church. Whenever there was a financial need, everyone just assumed someone else would make up the difference. Someone else was a wonderful person, sometimes appearing superhuman. With the truth known, everybody expected too much of someone else. Now, someone else is gone. We wonder, what are we going to do? Someone else left a wonderful example to follow, but who is going to follow it? Who is going to do the things someone else did? When you ask for help this year, remember, we can't depend on someone else anymore. Take ownership. We can't depend on someone else anymore. If every one of us take ownership and carry out our responsibilities, this place will be a much better place. If you would like a copy of that poem, just send me an email and I'll send it to you, okay? And then what is one thing you need to start doing now? Anybody? Can you see any area in your work and your life where you can take more ownership?
I think one thing I need to stop doing that's developed during this interesting year that we're having is I need to stop getting a later start on my day.
Mm-hmm.
Because it really does trickle into the full day, and it's something I'm very aware of and keep letting that bad habit happen. And start doing, for me, I think, planning better and planning my next morning and day the day before or the week before, because if I was truly taking ownership in it, like let's say it was my business, I know I'd be planning like a month before and not just letting the day start and see what happens, you know.
Okay, who else would like to share some closing comments about what we've shared today?
Well, I'll share this, and it kind of ties into what Sarah said. I was doing the same thing. I was getting a later start on the day. So I told my boss. I said I'm going to start. I'm going to start earlier. I'm going to work an earlier shift. And he said, and we're, even though we're like salaried employees, you know, but the relationship managers, we still, you know, you still have to account for your time and everything to justify working from home, you know, to management. So I told him, I said, you know, I'm going to start. I noticed that I was getting lazier and lazier, and I said, I'm going to start. I'm going to start at 7 o'clock. Is that all right? He said, sure, that would be great, because he said, I know there's going to be, you know, we have salespeople, you know, on the East Coast that, you know, will call in during that time. So like my production has gone through the roof now that I start early, because I find out that I wake up much earlier as I had in the past. So it made a big difference.
You know, the guy who invented that snooze button on the alarm, I know he must have been, he liked to sleep in, you know, you hit the snooze button.
I never thought about that.
I think about it, you know, when you get, we are creatures of habit. I don't know if you experienced this, but let's say you set your alarm for 6 o'clock. How many times you wake up before the alarm? You know, because your body, you know, is in a rhythm. And the alarm now, it just becomes a backup. Right, Megan?
Yeah, I always take your advice. I think it was you that started this, where whoever gets out of bed last has to make the bed. So
Yes.
I'm always up first.
Anybody has any closing comments? You know, I will share this too. A real good friend of mine who's in sales, every month his sales would increase, like maybe, you know, 10 more accounts or 50 more accounts or whatever. And someone asked, he said, well, you know, how do you account for that? How do you keep increasing? He said, I get up an hour earlier.
Yep. Put more time into more effort and more time. And you get, especially in sales, we get rewarded by the amount of effort we put into this role. The more effort we put, we may not see it immediately, but it will come, trust me. I've been in sales for most of my adult life. Trust me, the effort you put is you're going to be rewarded. It's amazing. Remember, if you'd like to have a copy of that poem that I read, just send me an email. I'll send it to you. It's a good one, really. So next week is our last week. Starting to feel a little sad already. I'm going to miss you guys, but I'm sure we're going to keep in contact. But next week, we're going to talk about never giving up. Never giving up. All right. Anybody else would like to say anything before we say goodnight?
Oh, I almost forgot something.
Yeah.
talking about initiative. I went and signed up to be a poll administrator because they were talking about, I was watching on TV today about, when you think about it, whenever you go and vote, the majority of the people that are there doing the polls they're older.
Yep.
They're a lot of times they're ladies, you know, in their 60s or 70s, or retired gentlemen, you know, stuff like that. Well, with all this stuff with COVID going on, you know, that's the age group that they're wanting to stay at home.
Mm.
Well, I 5 years ago, I never would have thought about doing something like that. It would have been like, you know, it's like like you were saying, someone else.
Yeah.
You know, that's what they do, you know, that's because that's how it's always been, you know. But I forgot, I completely slipped my mind. I went and signed up for Showed Initiative doing that today.
Good deal, Irene. Good deal. Yeah, because Alan doesn't like it when you talk about senior people. Yeah. All right, friends. Have a good night and see you next time.
Thank you so
Good night,
much.
Lincoln. See you next
You're
week.
welcome. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.